Hey, Shalom, this is the brother Abad. You're back here once again. Before I get started, like always, I want to give all praises and glory to Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shah Bahasham, Rakha HaKadosh. Double honors to my teachers, the elder apostles of Great Millstone, and Shalom to the hopeful elect. This is the book of First Timothy, chapter 3, verse 5. For if a man know not how to rule his own house, how shall he take care of the church of Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shah? Now, this scripture is going into your actual physical house that you may have your family, your kids with, but you can also apply it to your first house, your first habitation, your first dwelling place, which is your body, which is yourself, oneself. All right, the first house that you embody, the first house that you live in, is your body. All right, what your physical body. All right, that your spirit is housed within. All right, so if you know not how to rule over your body, rule over your mind, rule over your spirit, rule over yourself, how can you desire to rule over the house of Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai? So I'm going to title this, So You Want to Rule, with a question mark. And I'm going to go into some scriptures of why I say, guys got to start learning how to rule over their selves before they consider ruling over the Lord's nation. All right. You got to learn to rule your ego, rule your pride. You got to learn to rule being lazy. You got to rule over your lazy spirit. You got to have, you got to be on fire for this truth. You got to be diligent. And these are things you have to constantly work on. You got to be able to rule over your tongue, know when to speak, when not to speak. And I'm going to get scriptures touching on that. You got to be able to rule over your loins. All right. A lot of guys spend a lot of time, too much time, chasing after women, even in this truth. We wasn't called into this truth to be chasing after women. We were called into this truth to chase after the Lord's heart, all right, and get back in the good graces of our power so that, Lord willing, we'll be accepted as those first fruits. So desiring to be a ruler is cool and all, but if you don't have yourself in order, how the fuck can you rule over anybody? You see the state that the earth is in, all right? You see the state of the rulership of the earth. Nations are getting ready to war against each other, always at the brink of war. The food is polluted, all right? The minds of the people is polluted. Family structure is broken down. People are depressed, all right? Nature is out of whack. Everything is totally off course because the ruler of it, Esau, all right, so-called white man, these Edomites that have the world in their control right now, they don't have rule over their own spirits. All right, they don't rule in righteousness because they don't know how to rule their own spirit in righteousness. As the ruler, so is the people, so is the condition of the state of the earth. So you being a Hebrew Israelite, a so-called African American, Hispanic, Native American man, through your father's lineage, you desire to rule over your power's nation of people. You want to be part of their rulership governing body, the 144,000 that comes back with Yahweh Shai. All right. In the chariots, what people call UFOs, you want to be a part of that. You want to rule. You want to sit on the throne. You want a scepter. Well, you got to learn how to rule over yourself first. Because I'll just speak for myself. If I was just a regular civilian, which I am right now, I wouldn't want no nigga that don't know how to rule himself, ruling over me. And that's the main reason we want to get out of captivity now. The nigga that's ruling over us is a madman, a maniac. All right. That don't care about right from wrong. All right, you just had the Pope and the Vatican make it official that they are okay with same-sex marriages. They're allowing same-sex marriages. All right, the ruler is totally corrupted. Now, I made a statement about ruling your tongue, right? I want to get the first one I want to get is in the book of Sirach, chapter 19. Okay. So this is the book of Sirach, chapter 19, and let me see what I want to start at, because this is I probably could start at the top, Bear with me 1 second. That's exactly what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna start at the top because It goes into a couple different things. This is Sirach, chapter 19, verse 1. A laboring man that is given to drunkenness shall not be rich, and he that contemneth small things shall fall by little and little. So these are two separate things that you have to get rule over. Drunkenness, right? You can't function. You can't be circumspect. You can't be alert. You can't be getting the necessary things you need to do done and learning the necessary things you need to learn as a man of the Lord if you're always drunk, if you're always given to wine and hard drink. The scriptures tell you that wine maketh a man a mocker, all right? And strong drink causes a man to stumble, roughly paraphrasing. All right? And a lot of you are not on no type of level to think that you're on a level to where you can just constantly drink and be sharp within the spirit. All right? The scriptures tell us that we fall short of the Lord's standard every single day. So if you know that's one of your weaknesses, you need to learn to rule over that and don't let it rule over you. How can you be a man of the Lord and you're letting something simple as alcohol, which all this shit is stripped down, low-level alcohol and wine rule over you instead of you rule over it? There's nothing wrong with partaking in it. Scriptures tell you to give wine to a man that's, sorrowful of heart, roughly paraphrasing. There's nothing wrong with partaking in the strong drink and the wine, but you should have rule over it, not rule over you. Let's go to the second part of this verse. And he that contemneth with small things shall fall by little and little. Yeah, every little thing that nags you, every little thing that bugs you or that rubs you the wrong way, you got to make an issue out of it. All right? You got to bring your point across and, come up with some type of reason why you don't like it or make your case or every little thing that rubs you the wrong way. You haven't learned to rule over yourself in that aspect of just letting things slide, turning the other cheek, all right? Suffering the low, being humble. Like I've been stressing lately, a lot of guys say they're humble. They're humble until they are humiliated, all right? Once they get humiliated, then their pride comes into play. So it's one thing to say you're humbled and you never been humiliated. Get humiliated first and then see how humble you are. That's how you test yourself, right? So contending over every little small thing is not beneficial for a man. That's why the scriptures say you will fall little by little. All right? And that type of stress, that type of stuff stresses you out. Always letting every little thing get to you. Verse 2. This is Sirach chapter 19, verse 2. Wine and women will make men of understanding to fall away, and he that cleaveth to harlots will become impudent. Let me get that word impudent real quick. So when you go into the word of impudent, it means without shame or shameless, straight to the point. You have no shame, right? So let's read this again. Wine and women will make men of understanding to fall away. That's why I said we were not called into this truth to chase after women. We were not called into this truth to spend our time walking around with our head down, drinking all damn day. It causes men of understanding to fall away. Why? Because you're distracted, specifically when you're chasing after women. Women are the biggest distractions of a man. The scriptures tell you the glory of a man is a woman. So when you're putting your attention on a woman, that's more time you're not putting your attention on the Lord. And that will cause you to fall away if you don't have rule over that. You allow that to rule over you, that will cause you to fall away. All right? Let's go to verse 3. Sirach chapter 19, verse 3. It says, moths and worms shall have him to heritage, and a bold man shall be taken away. And when you go into that word, bold man, and when it says moth and worms shall have him to heritage, meaning these things are going to lead a man to his death ultimately. All right? Moths and worms, all right, they hang around the decayed, all right? They hang around trash, they hang around corpses, all right? Of flesh. When flesh starts to when the spirit leaves the body and the flesh starts to decay, worms They like to consume the flesh and be, dwell within it. So when it says moths and worms shall have him to heritage, that's what it's talking about. Because it goes on to say, and a bold man shall be taken away. When you go into a bold man, meaning a man that never knows how to be humble, never knows when to shut his mouth, never knows when to take the low. He always got to have his pride and ego out front. Or don't play with me like that. I ain't the one, right? Or now you ain't finna test me like that. All right, that raw spirit that always leads these men towards their death. All right, and the moths and worms shall have them to their heritage. All right, a bold man shall be taken away. The scriptures even talk about keep not much company with a bold man, because a bold man will get you into something. All right, you go out on a weekend with a bold man, he may get a little liquor in him, and he gets into a fight, or he gets into a situation, all right, that's not beneficial to you or him, and he may ends up getting his ass whipped or put to death, or he may end up in a situation that causes both of you to get locked up that night for him not having rule over his own spirit. All right, that's why you got to be careful who you keep company with too. Let's go over to what was that, verse 3? Let's go to verse 4. Sirach chapter 19, verse 4. He that is hasty to give credit is light-minded, and he that sinneth shall offend against his own soul. All right, let's continue reading. Whoso taketh pleasure in wickedness shall be condemned, but he that resisteth pleasures crowneth his life. So you want to crown, you want to rule, you have to resist pleasures. You have to have control and rule over your own spirit and your desires, the things that you want, the things that you lust after. You can't allow those things to rule over you. All right. The reason why something like pornography is such a big thing mainly in America and in Western society is because people have allowed their lust to basically consume them. That's why there's so many damn categories. And I'm using pornography as an example because you look at something like that and there's so many different categories and subcategories. And the act of sex in itself is a union between a man and a woman under the authority of the Most High Yahweh. All right. And his first begotten Yahweh Shai, given the decree that the man and a woman becomes one flesh. And it's a very pleasurable act, but it's an act created for a man and a woman to become one within the flesh, a union. But in a wicked society, you have all different type of abominable sex acts being done and promoted. All right, and why are these things allowed? Why are these things promoted? And why these things are at a high demand is because people have not gotten control over their lust, and now their lust is ruling their lives. So a man may start off doing this, and then he does more, and then he does more. And before you know it, he's sleeping with the same sex, and likewise for women. But going into the scripture, one that resisteth pleasures crowneth his own life. All right, not seeking out too much money. Scripture says, seek not too high and seek not too low. You want to be stable. All right, because you don't want to destroy yourself with too much money, especially if you don't have control over your spirit. Because if you desire a lot of things and you know you have problems with your lust, having more money is just going to give you quicker access, all right, to retrieve the things you desire, all right, and go after your lust quicker. And that in turn will cause your downfall to happen quicker, all right? So you want to be able to resist the desire of having so much money, being rich, all right? We already brought up the woman aspect, all right? Even though men were created to have multiple women, we're not sovereign, all right? We're still captives. We're not in a time period that's beneficial for us to have many wives right now, all right? Society is not in a condition where it's beneficial for a man to have a lot of wives, especially when the government is so involved within any relationship that you do. Let's go to verse 6. Sirach chapter 19, verse 6. He that can rule his tongue shall live without strife, and he that hateth babbling shall have less evil. And, a lot of Jakes have a problem with not knowing when to shut up, not knowing when to be quiet, right? Jake often wants to be the loudest in the room, wants to always tell you their story, always has to have the last word. And that's a man that hasn't matured yet. That's a man that lacks understanding. That's a man that has a lot of insecurities. That's a man that has a lot of growth to do, all right? Scriptures speak about babbling, just babbling. You got to know when to take the low. You got to know when to be okay with being quiet, especially if you're in a room with a lot of other men and like-minded men at that matter. You don't always have to be heard. You don't always have to be the loudest in the room. Know when to speak. Know when your word is necessary. Know when your word is not needed at all. Even if you have something valid to say, it's not always needed. You could just be throwing in extra just to throw in extra because it makes you feel good. Learn to control your tongue. And that goes into other things, all right? Somebody may rub you the wrong way and then you say something crazy. You say something out of pocket and that leads to you getting your ass whipped, or that leads to you losing your going back to the spirit realm, all right? Losing your spirit and going back to the spirit realm. So you want to rule over your tongue, man. Really, you just want to rule over your spirit in general, all right? Oh, let me see. While I'm looking for the next precept, another scripture that comes to mind is roughly paraphrasing it, but it says, even a fool is accounted to be wise when he knoweth to hold his own tongue. A lot of times, a man that has wisdom can look like a fool, make himself look like a damn fool, because he don't know when to shut it down. All right, especially if he has alcohol in his system. All right. Scripture. I was looking for a good scripture to wrap this up with, because the scriptures speak about mortifying your members, which when you go into that word mortify means, to put to death, all right, which really goes into having control over this flesh, all right, using the spirit and grace and mercy of Yahweh Shemel Shai to get the power to control your flesh and not have the flesh control you, not have your passions, your lusts, your desires control over you. But I want to give 1 Corinthians chapter 9 and verse 24, right? It says, know ye not that they which run in a race run all, but one receiveth the prize. So run that ye may obtain. And what's this race that we're part of? The race to be the elect, the race to be the first fruits, all right? To be part of that first redemption, that first deliverance, all right, out of the hands of our enemies when Yahushua comes back. Verse 25, and every man that striveth for the mastery is temperate in all things. All right, we're striving for the mastery of what? The mastery of this doctrine, the mastery of this skill, this craft that we've been handed. All right, mastering how to, be sons of the Most High. All right, to be Yasha'Allah, princes of the power. All right, that's the mastery. But it says, let me read that again, verse 25. And every man that striveth for the mastery is temperate in all things. And when you go into that word temperate, it says that you're temperate in all things, right? When you go into that word temperate, it means to be self-controlled, to exhibit self-government, conduct oneself temperately, right? But to exhibit self-government. So you got to learn to govern yourself before you can govern the nation of the Lord, before you can govern the rest of these hard-headed Israelites. How can you rule over somebody and you don't know how to rule over yourself? That's a foolish thing. And Jake, you'd be surprised, Jake comes into the truth, being the truth for years, can be in the truth for a decade, all right? And even more than that, and still don't know how to rule over themselves, man. Or still don't even recognize or understand that they need to rule over themselves, because it's always a gradual and continual fight and process to do so. But a lot of you, Jacob, be in the truth for years and still don't even understand that he has to learn to do that. But it says, and every man that striveth for the mastery is temperate in all things. Now they do it to obtain a corruptible crown, but we an incorruptible. I therefore so run, not as in certainly, so fight I, not as one that beateth the air. All right, because you will have, just like these boxers, they do it for a corruptible crown, these belts, right? And they'll get on these strict diets. They'll hydrate themselves, or they may have to dehydrate themselves, whatever. But they're temperate in the things that they need to be temperate in to achieve their goal, all right? a strict regimen, a strict routine, and that happens in a lot of crafts that you want to master. Martial arts, all right? So how much more the truth? Verse 27, but I keep under my body and bring it into subjection, lest that by any means, when I have preached to others, I myself should be a castaway. So you got to bring your body under your subjection, under your rulership, under your control, and not have your body controlling you, your lust, your desires, your passions control you. So yeah, I'm going to end it by saying, so you want to rule? Well, learn to rule over yourself first. Learn to rule over your spirit. I hope this was edifying. Until the next time I say, Shalom.